Donald Trump is having an awful Saturday. He has now officially shut down access to him by the press. So after that, whatever that speech was in North Carolina before that small little group of people there, I guess he calls it a rally, he flew to Mar-A-Lago, again, didn't take any questions from the press. And now he's basically kind of put himself in a bunker in Mar-a-Lago and then West Palm Beach. He's been going back and forth. He's golfing today. He's not answering any questions about his cover-up of the Epstein Files. And it's not even a particularly smart cover-up of the Epstein Files. It's like a brazen one. We've reported it at detail where they've basically redacted everything. They've turned over only 5% of what's actually in the files in the DOJ's possession. And of that 5%, like 90% is redacted. But we're learning more, folks, as well, and this is one of the reasons that he's shut down access to the press. You know, some of the things that were like inadvertently even like produced, like there was an image that was from Epstein's home that was actually provided. And if you looked very carefully, you can see that there was a photo of Donald Trump with some girls. And then it's possibly Donald Trump and Melania in another photo. I'm not sure what that photo is, but that was file 468 on the list if you went through it. And so people are like, well, at least even though they tried to hide it, I guess they missed a spot right there. But they've now deleted file 468. They removed file 468 from the Department of Justice website. I don't know if they're going to re-add it, but I went and checked myself. And so if you take a look right here at the list of photos, and again, most of these are redacted. They missed a spot with Donald right there. Now it goes from 466, 467, then it skips 468 and goes 469, 470, 471. So where they inadvertently showed an image of Donald Trump, they just deleted it in front of our eyes. Now, that is a crime. All of this is a crime, okay? All the Epstein files were required to be produced on Friday. That's what the law said. You could redact the victim's name, that's it. And you can't claim that the individuals, the men, the sickos who were involved as the perpetrators of the sex trafficking ring were the victims. And that's precisely what the Trump regime was claiming. They're the victims, so we're not going to release anything about the men who were involved because they're the real victims here. That's actually I'm not making this up. That's the position of the DOJ. The real victims are the men whose names would be exposed, and we need to protect them. That's what the Trump regime is saying. Also, the Trump regime was caught this morning inserting a photo of Bill Clinton and Michael Jackson into the files. And then there's like Diana Ross, but it's Diana Ross's children. And the children of Diana Ross's faces are redacted. Now, this was a photo that was public from like 22 years ago. That was just a photo of Bill Clinton, Michael Jackson, Diana Ross, and Diana Ross's kids. Like one of Diana Ross's kids is like, that's me, not an unidentified woman. And so what the Trump regime also tried to do is they released these photos of Clinton. They redacted faces of seemingly underage girls, but they were actually photos that had nothing to do with Epstein at all. I mean, this is what the Trump regime is doing. It was Diana Ross's kids who took a photo with Bill Clinton, the president of the United States. That's what this Trump regime is doing. Meanwhile, as Donald Trump is blocking access to the press this morning, he's shutting down in his little Mar-a-Lago bunker. This is an email that he sent to his supporters. First, my son Don Jr. reached out. Then my team reached out. Then I reached out by email. We were convinced that you no longer use this email. That's why I even reached out to you by mail 4 times. Even in the snow, and it's this weird AI image of Donald Trump in the snow. My team says that my letters might have gotten buried in the snow. I really need to share something important with you. That's why I'm so persistent. If you're here, please read this. Hurry. Letter enclosed here. Then you click it, and guess what it does? It asks you to donate money to Donald Trump. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene is firing back at Donald Trump, and she goes, the whole point of the Epstein Files law was not to protect the politically exposed individuals and government officials. That's exactly what MAGA has always wanted. That's what drain the swamp actually means. It means expose them all. The rich, powerful elites who are corrupt and commit crimes, not redact their names and protect them. What happened to I am your retribution? I'm literally part of the bill I voted for, as stated here, and now it's law. No record shall be withheld, delayed, or redacted on the basis of embarrassment, reputational harm, or political sensitivity, including to any government official, public figure, or foreign dignitary. As Joe Walsh says, the only explanation for why Trump is willing to take such a huge political hit, keeping these Epstein files hidden, is because he knows what's in those files about him is really bad. Really, really, really bad. It's the only explanation for this massive Trump-led cover-up. It's not just the Epstein file, folks. It's everything. Just think about everything that they're covering up. They're covering up the video where the United States military engaged in crimes against humanity. Well, they show part of the video that Hexit, by the way, which I still believe is a war crime. Since we're not at war, it's the crime against humanity, but put war tribunals, put these people on war tribunals. But then the other part of the video where there's the double strike or the double tap where the people, the survivors, are begging for help and they're killed, that's being covered up. Donald Trump's medical records are being covered up. And he's like, oh, I got an abdominal preventative MRI. It's not a thing, an abdominal preventative MRI. By the way, while we're at it, make sure you hit subscribe to this YouTube channel right now. We are on our way to 6 million subscribers. This YouTube channel gets more views and engagement than Fox. Thanks to your support, we've got to keep this momentum going because we're under attack by the Trump regime and state regime media known as Fox. So please, we're fact-based. We bring receipts. Make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. You may think you're subscribed, but you may not actually be subscribed. Talking about bringing the receipts, just take a look at the facts right here. As the Cato Institute writes, despite Doge slashing jobs, we can now officially say by the end of the year, government spending every month of 2025 was greater than in every other year. An observer who did not know when Doge started could not identify it on a chart. Look at this chart. We love graphs, charts, data, numbers on the MeidasTouch YouTube channel and on this network. And you'll see that every single month, federal spending in 2025 was higher. Doge did nothing but actually increase the debt and increase the deficit. Utterly pathetic. By the way, so you have that which is high degree of factuality. You want to see stories with low degree of factuality that right-wing media is covering to propagandize their audience? It's stories like this. Trump administration probes Colorado after 221 dead people received federal housing assistance. This is what they're focused on. You know why? Because housing is so unaffordable right now, and people can't afford their rent. People certainly can't afford to buy homes right now. The issue is a supply side issue where private equity and others and foreign investors are buying up all of the houses. Wealthy billionaire type people are buying up the supply of houses. So people who want to be first-time homeowners can't compete in that market. And you have a horrible, horrible housing market right now. So the idea is let's blame migrants and dead people. And look, we need to root out fraud. Absolutely. But if we want to solve housing, we've got to solve housing the right way. And the right way is increase the supply. And so that's why it's important that we see all of that's being covered by right-wing media. Why? Because they're pushing propaganda on their people, and it has a low degree of factuality. And this is how I study this stuff when I prepare these videos. So I stay up to date on the news all the time in order to do this podcast. And my biggest go-to news source is Ground News. You guys, it's a subscriber-funded app and news site. And every day they pull in thousands of articles from around the world and organize them by story and then show you what was the right reporting, what's the center reporting, and what is the left reporting. It's a game changer because as active, responsible citizens, we must get our news from reliable sources, and Trump's America being informed about the facts and media bias, I think it's the most important thing you can do. But that's why we love Ground News. For every article, they tell you, did a media conglomerate put this news out, or was it an independent media source? And they also list the degree of factuality, like the one I just showed you, low degree of factuality. And I find it interesting that oftentimes I find independent media has higher factuality than these other news sources. And the subscription plan that I use is called the Vantage subscription on Ground News. I like their blind spot feed, which highlights the stories that are disproportionately covered by one side of the political spectrum, like the story that I just shared with you, which is exclusively being covered by right-wing media. So join us by going to ground.news/MTN. Get 40% off the Ground News Vantage plan that I use every morning. They're subscriber funded, and by subscribing, you're not only getting a tool we all need today, you're also supporting our work here on this YouTube channel. That's ground.news/MTN, and we pin the link to purchase your subscription below. Now, talking about media bias, basically every other network was covering Donald Trump's cover-up of the Epstein Files, but on state regime media known as Fox, what were they focused on? What were they trying to distract their viewers with? They were showing like clips of mice that were involved, or two rats that were engaged. They said, tug of war, two rats engaged in a dramatic 3-minute battle over half a bagel at a New York City subway station. Yeah, this is the stuff that Fox is covering while the White House is refusing to release the full Epstein list. Play this clip. I'll tell you what they're also refusing to cover, which we need to point out, which is Donald Trump just saying during that small little group event that he held in North Carolina that he called the rally, he openly tells them, I'm stealing $1 billion from the Treasury for myself. I have to steal it. I have to take it. I kind of have to make a deal with myself. And he makes himself the victim of this story. Always the victim with these MAGAs. Here, play this clip.
Donald Trump sues the United States of America. Donald Trump becomes president, and now Donald Trump has to settle the suit. I hereby give myself $1 billion. Actually, maybe I shouldn't give it to charity. Maybe I should keep the money. No, a lot of people say, do it. No, I don't want to do it. But whatever happens, it's all going to good charities. Is that okay? It's all going to good charities. But isn't that a strange position to be in? I've got to make a deal. I negotiate with myself. From the skyscraper.
Then, of course, he continues to keep saying, oh, I passed this cognitive exam and, I could identify a hippopotamus. It's difficult to identify hippopotamus. Here, play this clip right here.
First day in 28 days, these people are sick. That's why I've taken more physicals, because I think you have an obligation to, report. And I hate when they put out false reports. So they put out a report that Donald Trump. So I took a lot of physicals, and I did something no other president's ever done. I took cognitive tests, because I know that, and by the way, not easy. You get to those last questions, those last 10, 15 questions, nobody on that stand could answer probably any of them. And I got them, I aced them. And no other president's taken a cognitive. Could you imagine Sleepy Joe taking a cognitive test? I don't think you'd get the first question is like, what is this? And they show a lion, a giraffe, a fish, and a hippopotamus, right? And they say, which is the giraffe? So that's the only question. But what happens is it then gets harder. I don't think Joe would have gotten the first question right. He would say hippo. I want the hippo. But anyway, I've taken now 3 cognitive tests. I've aced every single one of them. And
then lastly, the MeidasTouch Network through our Katie Fang channel. Shout out Katie, who's doing an incredible job on her YouTube. She's a legend, Katie Fang. We're honored to have her on the MeidasTouch Network. She interviewed the Vanity Fair reporter Chris Whipple, who did that incredible piece on the Trump regime that you all, I'm sure, know about by now. Here's what he told the MeidasTouch Network's Katie Fang. Let's play it.
I really think, and I don't mean to name drop here, but I bumped into Walter Isaacson the other day.
Oh, okay.
We were talking, the great biographer, and we were talking to someone else about this. And Walter said, look, you know what? There's something Chris and I know about this, which is that people like to talk. They want to tell their story. And then Susie Wiles says, I have to take her at her word. I think she really believed that Trump had gotten a raw deal in his first term, terrible press, and that she thought she was talking to someone who would give her a fair shake. And I gave her a fair shake.
You did.
But the problem is, again, when you're in that bubble, you wouldn't recognize a fair treatment when you read it, because crazy is crazy when you're in that bubble.
There you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. You see why Donald Trump is shutting down access? Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million. We appreciate you.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.